service at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church. Please remain standing one moment longer for our covenant. The words are first in English and then in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus do we covenant. La doctrina de esta iglesia es el amor, la búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento, y el servicio es su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Este es nuestro pacto. Please be seated. And thank you. We welcome you to Emerson this morning. My name is Brian Nelson. My pronouns are he, him.
And I am Barbara Calvi. My pronouns are she, her. Brian and I joined Emerson 26 years ago this summer, and it is our pleasure to welcome you today with our...
I just corrected that, sorry.
Okay. Welcome you today, along with our music director, Kevin Matthey, performing our special music, our tech associates, David Early, Adam and Conrad Niesenholz, our backup worship associate in case anything explodes, Jeremy Pace, hopefully it won't, our ushers, Joe Cornett and Louise Rovner, our welcome desk folks, Linda Morris and Lynn Masuhara, and all the other Emersonians who do so much to keep this congregation running, whether we always see them or not. Every year, Brian or I put together a worship service or two for this congregation, and it's been a while for us, but like we sang earlier, don't be afraid of some change.
Emerson UU is one of over 1,000 UU congregations across the country, gathering to maintain our commitment to a world in which we need not all think alike in order to love alike. This morning at East Shore Unitarian in Belleville, Washington, Reverend Jennifer DeBusk Alviar presents a service on designing space for the possibility of grace, about how creative ideas appear in unexpected places. The UU Fellowship of Athens, Georgia, is this morning hearing Reverend Pippin Whitaker speak about how the writings of bell hooks can create a place of belonging. At the UU Society of Schenectady, New York, their service is titled Changing the World One Girl at a Time, with a presentation from the founder of the Mooncatcher Project about how young women around the planet can stay in school and prosper with the right menstrual supplies. And here at Emerson, we're presenting a service alternately called You Can't Lose at Play or You Can't Fail at Play, depending on which edition of the paperwork you saw. They're all good because you can't lose at play. This will be about the emotional and spiritual possibilities of play in our lives.
Emerson is a welcoming congregation that's been here over 65 years, engaging on issues ranging from anti-war protests to immigration reform, to marriage equality, to climate change. Emerson is regularly served by our settled minister, the Reverend Matthew McHale, who begins his 8th year with us this fall. On weeks when he's not in the pulpit, we offer services led by guest ministers or interns or fellow congregants like us. Brian and I joined Emerson because we wanted a church for our kids that wouldn't be sexist, that wouldn't be about shame, that would be about encouraging everyone to be their own spiritual authority. We maintain a tradition of American spirituality stretching to the founding of this country, claiming leaders like abolitionist President John Quincy Adams and Red Cross founder Clara Barton.
We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded land of the Tongva and Chumash peoples. California itself has more than 100 federally recognized tribes and was once the most densely populated part of Native North America. We honor how Native Americans have shaped the country legally, politically, and culturally from the earliest notions of self-governance that were passed on to British colonists to the writing of the Constitution and far beyond. If you're attending for the first time, please sign our guest book in the lobby, our virtual guest book online. You'll find the link in the chat. Signing it will ensure that you receive our e-blast updates that let you know about various activities from social justice and environmental events to virtual committee meetings, book group meetings, and more. And we also invite you to spend time with us after the service, either here or online. As part of our beloved community, we have a number of programs with which we support and take care of each other. And first, we invite Pam Randall to speak with us for a moment about pastoral care.
Good morning. It is good to see all of you. Maybe as you have read some of my notes that I have sent out, you realize pastoral care has now branched out a little bit, and we want to serve short-term needs. Some of these short-term needs could be meals, transportation, wellness visits, grocery shopping, emergency child care, pet sitting, and possibly maintenance, tech help, and resume editing, writing. An example that has hit me pretty hard was pet sitting for short term. I was recently in the hospital, spent several months now, and I have 3 little dogs at home. And it would have been nice to have called on one of you to have taken care of them. When my kids were little, I had one in school and one at home. And the school called and said, Christine has a broken arm. She needs to go to the hospital. How about coming over? And I said, okay, I'll be right there, but what do I do with the baby? Because, you know, you're not going to take it into the ER, hopefully. I could have used you. I could have very much used this service. So, if you'd like to volunteer for this, and by the way, just a little bit of information I put out has just given a wonderful response, and I thank you for that. This past week, we've done some meals for people, and coming up weeks. If you'd like to help, give me a call, in an email, or talk to me when I'm here. Remember, this is short term. You're not going to be railed in to go for weeks at a time at something. And from my point of view, volunteering is a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. And another project that's a different kind of pastoral care is our system of small group ministries, which, if you're not familiar with them, are groups of anywhere from 5 to 10 people who meet now and then during the month to discuss various spiritual topics. In September, our church historically does a formal push to sign people up for small group ministries, but you can express your interest and get involved just about any time. And if you're particularly interested, Renee, you could speak to Renee Lansone after the service, maybe even during the service. You might find a way. But we wanted you to start thinking about it and looking forward to it. And so here's a further testimonial about small group ministry from someone I know very well.
Hello. So I want to tell you a little bit about how important my SGM is to me and why. The other week, Brian, and along with our older child, Madeline, had to run up to the Bay Area. It was a really quick 24-hour thing. We ran up there, rented a truck, had to move an entire apartment's worth of furniture out of a storage unit into a U-Haul and drive it back down. We left Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. I pulled into our driveway at 7:30 p.m. Friday night. It was a whirlwind 24-hour marathon of driving, lifting, hauling, and more driving. Our SGM starts on Friday nights at 7 p.m. We got back at 7:30. I'd already told them there was no way we were going to make it. We pulled into the driveway, parked the truck that night, exhausted. We jumped in our car and ran to SGM to get there for the second hour. That's how important it is to us. Now, the richness of the friendships and the connections that have been built, we were exhausted when we got home from the trip. We were re-energized by the time we left an hour later. When we arrived at Carolyn and Scott's house, knocked on their back door, which is glass, so you could see in, and everyone sitting at the dining room table. When they looked up, they all were surprised, had these huge, warm, welcoming smiles on their faces. It was so great. It was such a great, heartwarming experience. And I wish that great, heartwarming feeling of belonging and love for everyone here. Now, you probably have that in your lives, but here's what I want to say about that. Can you ever really have too much of that feeling of belonging, friendship, connection, and community in your life? Really? Can there ever be too much? So we're talking about, in the service today, about the emotional, social benefits of play, and I think the benefits of rich community, connection, and belonging, for which we are all wired, is just as important. The research even says so. It's very clear. And after a lengthy, seemingly endless at times, pandemic period of fear and isolation, I invite you all to consider how much building a nurturing and intimate space of community and connection in SGM could do for you. You're the best. No, SGM is the best.
True enough. Last year, there was a brief series on TV, The Man Who Fell to Earth. It was a sequel to the old David Bowie film. Chiwetel Ejiofor plays Faraday, who's an alien sent to this planet to figure out what went wrong with the David Bowie character and whether both his planet and our planet can be saved. Since Faraday is not human, there's a lot he doesn't understand about us. In an episode written by John Lopez, Jenny Lumet, and Alex Kurtzman, one day Faraday sees a little girl playing with her Legos, and it upsets him. He just doesn't see the point. What is this about? What's it going to accomplish? The girl's mother tells Faraday, "You can't fail at play." It kind of blows his mind. And later, he realizes when he haltingly attempts to play himself, he discovers things he never expected. It turns out maybe the secret to saving the world for him is going to lie in improvisation and jazz and play. So, with the importance of play in mind, I'm going to ask you, most of them will have it, find a gray hymnal in front of you. Most of them should have a Post-it just inside the front cover. Pull off the Post-it for yourself. It's got the name of a historic or a famous Unitarian or Universalist or Unitarian Universalist in it. So we're going to take a moment now to greet your neighbors. But in this spirit of play, introduce yourself first as the well-known UU on the Post-it. And for those of you on Zoom, if you know of any famous UUs yourself, feel free, before you start, feel free to write their names in the chat. I will introduce myself as award-winning actor from Homicide and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Andre Braugher.
And I, of course, am the author of David Copperfield, Charles Dickens. Let's say hello.
I'll look at it. I now have no idea.
You're going to introduce the Bibles.
I totally am. You want me to do that? Yeah. Yeah. All right, and to keep having fun, there should be somewhere around you a little piece of plastic here, and inside is some bubble water, and you have a little bubble blower attached. And so while we hear the special music, we invite you to blow bubbles as we hear Puff the Magic Dragon from our beloved Kevin.
Very apropos. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Little Jackie Paper loved that rascal Puff and brought him strings and sealing wax and other fancy stuff. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Together they would travel on a boat with billowed sail. Jackie kept a lookout perched on Puff's gigantic tail. Noble kings and princes bow whene'er they came. Pirate ships would lower their flags when Puff roared out her name. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Dragon lives forever, but not so, little boys. Painted wings and giant wings make way for other toys. One gray night it happened, Jackie Paper came no more, and Puff, that mighty dragon, they ceased their fearless roar. His head was bent in sorrow, green tears fell like rain. Puff no longer went to play along the cherry lane. Without their lifelong friend, Puff could not be brave. So Puff, that mighty dragon, sadly slipped into their cave. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon walked down the cherry lane. They came upon a little girl, Julie Maple was her name. She'd heard that Puff had gone away, but that can never be. So together they went sailing to a land called Honolulu. Oh, Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu. Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu.
Thank you, Kevin. And oh my God, that was so satisfying to work this little thing and you see an actual bubble come out. I really was not prepared for how great that would feel. In this same spirit, it is time for the story for all ages. This is a story that I read here quite a number of years ago, so a couple of you may recognize it, and hopefully it will be even more fun now. This is Sing Sophie by Dale Ann Dodds. Little Sophie Adams had a voice so big, folks claimed they could hear her from Corn County clear to the Oklahoma border. I love to sing, said Sophie, strumming her guitar. My dog ran off, my cat has fleas, my fish won't swim, and I hate peas. But I'm a cowgirl through and through, yippee-ki-yee, yippee-ki-yoo. Mama, listen to my new song, said Sophie. It's hot, Sophie, said Mama, and baby Jacob's trying to nap. Why don't you share your singing with the birds? Oh, Mama. Sophie took her voice out into the garden. She strummed her guitar and sang out her song. My rooster won't crow, my hen won't lay, my frog got warts and hopped away. My legs are skinny, my toes are fat, I've got the temper of a tiger cat, but I'm a cowgirl, don't you know? Yippee-ki-yee, yippee-ki-yo. Sophie, you stop that bellowing right now, Sophie's older sister, Kate Ellen, called. With this sticky heat and all your racket, my new fluffy hairdo is fixin' to fall flat as a flapjack. Oh, fiddle faddle, mumbled Sophie. Doesn't anybody want to hear my new song? At the creek, she flopped down under a shady sassafras tree. Once again, Sophie began strumming and singing. My coat is torn, my shoes are wet, my socks don't match, my rat's upset, my kite got stuck, I ate a bug, I spilled red cider on the rug, but I'm a cowgirl tried and true, yippee-ki-yee, yippee-ki-yoo. For Pete's sake, Sophie, said Brother Willie, can't you see I'm trying to fish? Your caterwauling is scaring all the fish away. Go somewhere else. Oh, chicken feathers, Sophie said. I've got a song in my heart and it needs to come out. Sophie leaned against the cool wall of the barn and strummed out a tune. My jokes are bad, my riddles no good, my hair never curls the way that it should, but I'm a cowgirl, yes sirree, yippee-ki-yo, yippee-ki-yee. Take your singing somewhere else, sweet pea, Sophie's pa called. Old Betsy's getting fidgety in this heat and the milk pail's sitting empty. Oh, goose grease, said Sophie. Doesn't anyone want to hear me sing? She dragged her guitar out to the field and sang to the corn and the crickets until the sun went down. That night, a summer storm hit. Flash went the lightning. Boom, boom sounded the thunder. Baby Jacob began to cry. There, there, said Papa, give the little fellow to me. He bounced baby Jacob on one knee, but it did no good. Let me try, said Kate Ellen. She twirled baby Jacob all around the living room, but he went on crying. I'll get him to stop, said Willie. He dangled a wiggly rubber worm in front of baby Jacob's nose, but baby Jacob cried louder than ever. I have an idea, Sophie said. She took baby Jacob into her arms. Don't worry, Jacob. She sat him in a chair and said, that storm may be scary, but I'm not afraid. From the bottom of her heart, a song sang out, louder than thunder, stronger than lightning. I hate spinach, I hate liver. Last week I fell into the river. I bumped my knee, I scratched my nose. I lost my shoe, I tore my clothes. Whenever trouble passes by, I don't worry, I don't cry, 'cause I'm a cowgirl, don't you see? Yippee-ki-yoo, yippee-ki-yee. Baby Jacob giggled and clapped. He's smiling, said Mama. He likes your song, said Papa. What a catchy tune, said Kate Ellen. Not bad, added Willie. Will you sing another, they all asked. Well, jumpin' jackrabbits, Sophie said, strumming her guitar with glee. I thought you'd never ask. Ducks and geese, they make me sneeze. I have freckles on my knees. I like jello, mosquitoes like me. I fell out of the big oak tree. My ears are big, my head is small. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't care, don't you know, 'cause I'm a cowgirl, yippee-ki-yo. The end. So that could really be the story for all ages. But we're going to keep having musical fun with it. And now, we started this tradition decades ago that after the story, the kids could leave the sanctuary for their own time. We would see them out with this unison of affirmation that we still do today, whether we have kids present or not. So you probably know the hand gestures, but it's very important to me that you don't just sort of like wave your hand like this. You're making a U. You're making a U and then another U. I don't make me lose sleep about this tonight, all right? So here we go. We are Unitarian, Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands.
Part of having loving hearts and welcoming hands is building this beloved community together. And one of the ways we do that is to contribute to this congregation through pledges and through our weekly offering. You can donate to us through the online app or through the link for donate.emersonuuc.org, or you can mail in a check to the church office. This month, we are sharing our offerings with the West Valley Food Pantry, to which Emerson has been a strong and steady contributor since long before Brian and I became members here. The offering will now be greatly received, after which we will join in our group response.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
As important as it is when we share our offerings, even more important is how we strengthen our beloved community through sharing our personal milestones. We'll take a moment now to hear the joys and sorrows that have been submitted in our Book of Life as well as online. Todd Covert welcomes supportive thoughts for his sister Wendy, who is in the middle of 2 weeks of radiation treatments, and for his girlfriend Deb's mother, Dolly, recovering from surgical complications, including COVID. Lucas writes, "Life is a song, sing it. Life is a game, play it. Life is a challenge, meet it. Life is a dream, realize it. Life is a sacrifice, offer it. Life is love and joy, live to love, love to live. Life is beautiful." And Jim and Nicole online write, "The caring and aid, particularly the fantastic meals that members of this congregation have been bringing us in this difficult time. We haven't been able to be there in person, and yet you all make us know we have a family at Emerson." Let us take a moment now to offer up into this sanctuary the names of those people in our lives and around the world whom we wish remembered this morning. And let us continue to hold these names and all these joys and sorrows in our hearts, as well as those that are yet too tender to be put forth. Let us remain in silence with those in our hearts and our souls for a moment. So I looked up the word play in the Bible to see how many times it appeared. You don't find much. Mostly it's verses about playing musical instruments. There's one line about wild animals playing. That's the only affirmative mention of play you find. The only other verse is about how children are willing to play right next to cobras. So not a big endorsement of the concept. And in the Quran, not really that different. There's a reference to how people should be careful of idle play and about how this world is just a play and a passing delight, but the real reward will come in the next world. And the word play doesn't show up in the Tao Te Ching at all. So luckily we are here to talk about it today. We're going to try a new song. I don't remember ever singing this here before. We'll stay seated for this hymn because it's new to us. Kevin will play it all the way through before we sing. So let's try this out. Don't be afraid of some change. Here we go. Hymn 338, I Seek the Spirit of a Child.
I seek the spirit of the child who meets life naturally, the child who seeks the world alive and greets the morning sun with glee. Children are real beyond all art. May I see joy's a gift to the heart. I seek the freedom of a child who loves instinctively, who lights our day with just a smile and shines the light on all we see. Children are real beyond all fears. May I see hope's a gift to our tears. I seek the wonder of a child who sees delightfully. Now clowns in cloud, now golden sun, imaginations true and free. Children are real beyond all lies. May I see faith's a gift to our eyes.
I'd like to start by asking you all to take some time, close your eyes, and think back to a moment recently when you just played. I mean, really allowed yourself to play, even if it was just for a few minutes. Now, ask yourself if you were able to recall a time like that recently, or did you have to travel far back in time to find it? You might be asking yourselves, what do I mean when I say play? According to Dr. Stuart Brown, head of the National Institute for Play, yes, there is an amazing thing called the National Institute for Play, now my very favorite institute in the country. Play is a state of mind that one has when absorbed in an activity that provides enjoyment and a suspension of sense of time. It is self-motivated, so you want to do it again and again. And no, this does not include doom scrolling or really any scrolling of any kind. Play can be a very broad term, and yet not a lot of adults really let themselves do it. It's not something that's supported in our society, but more on that later. Research over the last 30 years has shown that play is crucial for optimal child development. It serves a number of important functions for children. It helps strengthen cognitive skills, working memory, and critical thinking, all of which are necessary elements for learning. It also helps children learn to assert their independence from adults, learning about their own preferences and dislikes in the process. They can hone skills that will be necessary in adulthood, and like financial planning, running a household, and it allows children a rare opportunity to take control in their own environment and gain a sense of mastery. None of that is probably surprises many of you. We tend to all, or at least most of us, know that play is important to children. It's the primary way that they learn. And when allowed to learn in this way, they tend to be more self-motivated and grow into more self-motivated adults. But our culture at large doesn't really support the idea, particularly when it comes to unstructured play. I mean, remember those days? Monday and Wednesday is this kid's soccer practice. Tuesdays and Thursdays are that kid's basketball practice. Friday is piano. Later after soccer is whatever, art, ballet, basket weaving. You know how it goes. There are kindergartens and even preschools who consider their main selling point is that they are academically oriented. And they reassure registering parents that they give children worksheets and will teach them letters and will focus on reading skills and simple math. And all of this in ways that actually resemble what we come to think of as academic teaching and learning at the elementary school ages. Yes, there are some play-based, natural learning-based preschools and kindergartens, but there are a huge number of schools that are academically focused. And those schools are often extremely popular, especially among the, what is the most likely thing going to get my kid into Harvard kind of parents. So I used to cringe every time one of my kids came home from middle school, mind you, and talk about how one classmate or the other was choosing such and such an extracurricular activity because it was going to look good on their transcripts. Okay, newsflash, middle school transcripts don't make it to college admissions boards. Yet that was the focus. So we are, I think it's fair to say, in a culture that discourages play. Because it's all, our culture is all about doing more, having more, making more, being more competitive, being more productive, being more efficient, getting to the top, outdoing others. Many coaches in the coaching, the transformational coaching world are focused on what they call helping people live bigger lives, be bigger, be better. That usually means, it's not limited to, but at least usually almost always includes making more money. Living a bigger life seems to mean making more money so you can spend more, because dreams aren't big enough if they don't cost a lot, apparently. But don't think I'm cynical at all. So we live in a money-obsessed society, much more than when I was a kid, and more money obsessed means working more, focusing on the activities that will get you paid more, not on pleasure, enjoyment, and play. So if kids in kindergarten are being pushed into academics, if elementary schools are pushing kids to choose the oboe as an instrument over the instrument they love because it's more likely they'll be recruited by a prestigious university because oboe players are much less common than flute players, if high school kids are being pushed sometimes to injury on sports fields so that they can be recruited by Division I schools, paving their way to professional sports and more money, if kids are under all that pressure to forego play, the activity for the fun of it, and not for the outcome, then how likely is it that adults are going to really value play for the sake of play? Even if a child isn't subjected to that kind of direct pressure, the constant messages society puts out, both explicit and implicit, has an impact. We did not pressure our kids to do any particular activity, to be on their transcripts, to get into a better college. But in high school, they both said, I don't want to talk about college. I'm so tired of all my friends talking about what they have to do to get into a good college, in terms of extracurriculars, in terms of the instrument, in terms of the right sport, that they were like allergic to even hearing about talking about college until they were juniors, which frankly, good for them. But that's the kind of pressure that's around, even if it's not directed at them. So if kids end up pressured away from spontaneous play, think of what the messages are for adults. Even though play is crucial for adults as well. And play for adults is critical in our stressful go, go, go lives. The quote, we're supposed to be human beings, not human doings, comes to mind here. This quote's been attributed to everyone from spiritual teacher Wayne Dyer, to counselor and theologian John Bradshaw, to Pastor Rick Warren, and even to the Dalai Lama. So it gets repeated a lot because people need to hear it. So why is play so important for adults? Because it's been, shown to release endorphins, improve brain functionality, stimulate creativity. It can help us feel young and stay energetic. It helps us feel more supported, be more physically active, make better life decisions, have more life satisfaction, ward off depression, keep us more optimistic. It just improves our social, emotional, and mental well-being. It is starting to sound like there's just nothing play can't do. Yet many adults have a really hard time with the idea. Many wouldn't know what to do if you said, here, go play. And if you ever struggle with the moment with the thought of, Gee, I don't know where I would start. The best way to start, I think, is to make a play date with the nearest 2-year-old in your life, because they know how to play. They can't not play. But I think for many adults, it's kind of the impulse to play has been squashed out of us. And it's hard to define what constitutes play, because what is play for one person doesn't necessarily constitute play for another. Peter Gray, author and researcher at Boston College, says the characteristics of play all have to do with motivation and mental attitude, not with the behavior. 2 people might be throwing a ball or typing words on a computer, and one might be playing while the other is not. To tell which one is playing and which is not, you have to infer from their expressions and the details of their actions, why they're doing it, and their attitude toward it. Dr. Stuart Brown says, it is something that is done for its own sake. It's voluntary, it's pleasurable, it offers a sense of engagement, it takes you out of time. And the act itself is more important than the outcome. Brown also says, so a poker player that's enjoying a competitive card game, that's play. A gambling addict whose goal is to hit the jackpot, that's not play. Are you writing a book, putting together a challenging jigsaw puzzle? That might be play depending on your experience of it. If you're feeling engaged, feeling good about the challenge, and it takes you out of a sense of time, it's play. If it's boring or feels like an obligation, it isn't play. So in addition to all those considerations, your individual play circuits are unique to you. They're a combination of the wiring with which you came into the world and the neural pathways that developed in your brain in childhood. So to some extent, one's capacity to play may have to do with family culture and attitude about play. And like any characteristic that we have, it's that question of, it's a combination of nature and nurture. But if you happen to come from a family that wasn't very play-oriented, shall we say, or if your wiring is just not terribly play-focused, don't worry, because our brains are plastic. They're capable of neuroplasticity, and so we can strengthen weak neural pathways, and we can develop new neural pathways. So how do we get serious about getting back to play if we're uncertain? Other than making a play date with the nearest 2-year-old. According to the National Institute for Play, there's a 3-step process. First, find your play personality. Dr. Brown identifies 8 different personalities. 1, the collector. Think Jay Leno and his classic cars. The competitor. Any athlete, though that's not the only arena for competitive play. The creator/artist, think Michelangelo, Matisse, even Steve Jobs. The director, party givers, party planners, and organizers. The explorer, think Anthony Bourdain and Jane Goodall. The joker, often practical jokes. So George Clooney is an example, someone who's earned himself quite a reputation as a jokester. The kinesthete, dancers, yogis, football players. And the storyteller, Garrison Keillor, Steven Spielberg, and even someone I happen to know very well, our friend Brian. If you can't quite figure out what play type personality you have, think back to when you were an elementary school kid, like ages 5, 6 to 12. What were the things that you did that you couldn't stop doing? The things that no matter how much your parents screamed at you to do your homework, go to bed, brush your teeth, come in from outside, you couldn't stop doing. That is where you can start. Second, consider how you like to play. Humans have different ways of playing, from body and movement to social play. Different types of play can go with any play personality. For example, a storyteller might prefer social play, movement play, or object play. You'll access play states through different activities. Someone may tell a story through contemporary dance. Someone else may enjoy regaling their friends with stories at parties, and yet others may direct an animated film. And number 3, just try something that sounds fun. If you're enjoying yourself, it's play. Try something else. If you're not having fun, try something else or tweak it into a way that would be more fun for you. If you're going along with friends who are doing something, and you're doing it because you're with them, but you're not having joy inherently from the activity, so that wouldn't be play for you. Make sure you spend some time with something that nourishes you. So there's a gaming group in San Francisco called SF Games, and it's comprised of a group of men who huddle around and play with figurines. The group is dedicated to what are called German-style games, as opposed to American-style games. The difference? German-style games, no one is excluded. In some games, like let's say Monopoly, people are knocked out of the game one by one, so you have to sit around for like half an hour until the game ends. That would be considered exclusive. So those are types of games do not necessarily engender a sense of community. So the founder of this group, which was established a couple of decades ago, says German-style games have helped this group establish a tight and committed community over the years. So you have the best of both worlds. You have play organized in a way that maximizes belonging and community. What could be better than that? Actually, that kind of sounds like our SGM meetings. Just saying.
So we're going to take a couple of minutes just to play one more game. When I have served as a mentor in coming of age, we do this thing where we just sort of innocuously slide names of famous UUs through history into conversation, and then we do a trivia game where if they can remember who those people were, then they get M&Ms, and we're not actually going to give you M&Ms, but nonetheless we might have a reward for you. So here's the thing, you have been given all the answers. I'm going to describe a few famous UUs, and anyone who knows it, shout out the person's actual name. Author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Author of the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Not Francis Scott Key, that is the Star-Spangled Banner. Julia Ward Howe. Creator of the Twilight Zone. Revolutionary War silversmith. Inventor of the geodesic dome. Director of the Barbie movie. Professor and MSNBC commentator. Well done. Minister and songwriter of Jingle Bells. That's well done, yes, absolutely. Discoverer of Pluto. You got it. Well done. U.S. Congressional Representative from California.
Judy Chu.
Well done, yes. Singer-songwriter Annie Clark, who goes by the stage name St. Vincent. Civil rights activist killed at Selma. That will do. I was actually looking for Viola Liuzzo, but also James Reeb. Very good. Author and illustrator of Peter Rabbit. Poet and author of The Bell Jar. Science fiction writer of The Martian Chronicles. Actor who played Superman. Discoverer of the element oxygen. Joseph Priestley. And bravo, well done. So now, your prizes are waiting for you at the doors. Joe and Linda and/or Lynn are going to walk forward with your kazoos. Now, when I picked up this kazoo, I thought, it doesn't work. You have to hum into it. Please, yes, let's give them out. So, everybody today got not only some bubble juice, but also a kazoo. And here's what we're going to do. We're about to sing our closing hymn. And we will sing all three verses. And then after the third verse, Kevin's piano will go quiet and we'll all play the one last verse on kazoo. So if you're ready, please rise for closing hymn 118, This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Nice job. Let's now extinguish our chalice with these words from this church's namesake, Ralph Waldo Emerson. It is a happy talent to know how to play. Shalom, salam, namaste, alleluia, blessed be.
Have a great day, everyone. Play on.